if you could dodge a wrench, then you can dodge an Aspinall. That is the new tagline that I have when it comes to Jon Jones versus Tommy Aspinall. Look, guys, following UFC 309, I went back this morning and I rewatched the Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones fight. And I just can't help myself but go, this fight ain't happening, man. Jon Jones versus Aspinall, this fight is not happening. And I don't mean to come out of the gate here sounding like the bad news bear, negative Nancy, whatever you want to say. I absolutely want to see this fight. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think this is one of the biggest fights the UFC could put together right now. I think that this would be the biggest heavyweight fight of all time. And I mean, there's nothing quite like MMA or combat sports, whenever you get two massive dudes, in particular heavyweights, and they come in there. There's like a narrative, there's a grudge, there's some sort of bad blood coming into it for a massive fight. That's what we have on the horizon with Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. But all signs to me point in the direction of this fight ain't happening. And when I watched the fight back this morning between Stipe Miocic and Jon Jones, I'm just not convinced that this thing happens, because when you take a look at the performance from Jon, it was absolutely outstanding. Make no mistake about it. It was a systematic breakdown to where he went out there, implemented a perfect strategic game plan to pick apart Stipe Miocic, get him out of there, and win in impressive fashion. But when I watched that back, I could not believe what we were seeing from Stipe Miocic. This guy, I mean, I said before, I was like concerned. I'm like, if we see the kind of the prime elements of Stipe Miocic, where he's got some decent footwork, he's cutting good angles, he's timing, that pull two counter right hand, and he's kind of letting the boxing combinations fly, I could see him doing very, very well against Jon Jones. The fact that Stipe survived the first round after that beautiful takedown by Jon Jones, Jon landed some nasty ground and pound. He had a very dominant first round. I was like, that was almost worst case scenario for Stipe. He survived, got back to his feet. The fight played out on the feet the rest of the time. He just got picked apart by Jon. Absolutely picked apart. And I know that those front kicks up the middle and then that nasty spinning back kick that dropped Stipe and was able to get him out of there, those were beautiful techniques by Jon. But when I go back and I watch the fight, go back and watch the fight, guys. None of those dudes are beating Aspinall. And I mean, none of them. Even if Stipe was back in his prime, he ain't beating Aspinall. Even Jon Jones back in like his prime, because I know he's 37. Maybe you could say he's still kind of got it a little bit. I think that he's a little over the hill at this point. From what we saw in that matchup against Stipe, there is no way that Jon Jones is fighting Tom Aspinall. And you've heard him. He's like, the only way I'm fighting this guy is if the UFC gives me FU money, to where if I lose the fight, well, I didn't really lose because I got paid a boatload of money. And, I sat back and I'm like, well, maybe Jon can come up with this strategic game plan and he can be all strategic. And, he's got good fight IQ. He can go in there and kind of stick and move and this and that against Aspinall. How's he going to do that? How's he going to do that? Tom Aspinall he's a phenom in the heavyweight division, dude. He's an absolute phenom. He's the new generation of heavyweight in this division. When I go back and I watch, because that's also what I did. I watched Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. I watched Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. The dude he moves like a lightweight in there. And what has given Jon issues in the past? Guys like Dominic Reyes, guys that, Alexander Gustafsson, that have good footwork, are elusive, are fast, are nimble, they feint, they move in and out, they have outstanding hands, and they got really good power in the boxing. That is a nightmare for Jon Jones. Does Aspinall not have all those things? He absolutely does. So why would Jon Jones take this fight? I absolutely think that, do I think that he's like, so afraid of Tom Aspinall? Like, I don't know that it's so much that. He just knows that this is the most likely fight that he would lose in his entire career. He's had close calls with Gustafsson. He's had close calls with Dominic Reyes. And then he's going to go up to heavyweight where he still looks a little bit faster, right? He's coming up with that light heavyweight skill up to heavyweight. So he's going to be a little bit more dynamic than most guys. Tom Aspinall is incredibly well-rounded. He has really good wrestling. He's got really good jiu-jitsu. So if Jon can't take him down and he's stuck on the feet, what's Jon going to do? Throw those kicks? I mean, maybe he's able to punish the body of Aspinall and land a nasty spinning back kick and drop him, but I don't think so. Tom Aspinall's fast. He's going to be moving in and out of range. He's not just going to be a sitting duck like Stipe Miocic, just standing in front of him, basically waiting to be attacked and waiting to be KO'd. That's what we saw in this fight. We saw Stipe was a sitting duck, man. He was. He was barely utilizing any lateral movement. He was stuck in the mud out there. And even when he did try to move forward, his head was on the center line. When Tom's out there, he's feigning, he's darting in and out of range, he's moving around, he's throwing power shots. He's got ridiculous power, and he has good grappling of his own. And if you just think that John's going to go in there and take him down, because when John gets uncomfortable on the feet, he's usually always had that advantage in the grappling. And it's not to say that he couldn't take Aspinall down, land some good ground and pound, maybe find a submission, but when you look aesthetically at what has given John Jones problems, Tom Aspinall is absolutely that guy. And that's why you hear John saying, I want to fight Alex Pineda, I want to do this, I want to do that. And none of those plans include Tom. Why is that? Because Tom is definitely the hardest fight for him. And John's 37 years of age. He's got this incredible legacy, and he's looking at it like, I'm not saying that this is right. I'm just saying this is probably what John's like. He's like, why would I fight this guy? What does he do for me? I'm the one with the giant name. He needs me for the fight, which is true. But the problem is, John, you're the heavyweight champion. Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champion. The fight should have already have happened. The number 8 ranked Stipe Miocic, who hadn't fought since the Venom fight kits have been around and got KO'd by Ngannou in his last time out, he shouldn't have just walked into a title shot. At 42 years of age, that's what we were all saying this whole time. That should have never have happened. And now he's saying, I want to fight Alex Pineda. Of course he does. Because in the event that he got KO'd by Alex Pineda, which probably wouldn't happen, he could be like, I was KO'd by one of the greatest combat athletes of all time. He's a guy that I like. I got a lot of respect for him. Alex is kind of looked at as this, he's, increasing up on the GOAT list now because of, the resume that he's put together in the UFC in such a short time. That wouldn't really ding John too much if he lost that fight. He goes out there and gets KO'd by Aspinall. I mean, that stings. That hurts. That kind of takes away a little bit from that GOAT kind of aura that John Jones walks around with. He knows that. And he also knows that if he's getting outstruck on the feet, it's not just going to be easy to take Tom Aspinall down. Whereas if he fought Alex Pineda, John has a very, very heavy advantage in terms of the grappling. We all know that. And I'm not sitting up here saying anything you don't know. John Jones is way better in terms of the grappling than Alex Pineda. He would just go in there, march him down, almost like what he did to Cyril Gane. Very similar. I'm not saying it would be that fast, but he would definitely take him down. He's got nasty ground and pound. He's a big dude now. He would be landing vicious ground and pound on Pineda, where he would either get him out of there that way or find a submission. He knows that Tom Aspinall is the worst possible matchup for him. And John Jones is like, why would I take that fight? It's the hardest fight. I'm 37. I'm looked at as the GOAT. Why am I going to risk that all to fight this new up-and-coming new generation of heavyweight? I would love to see this fight. I think that it's one of the biggest fights the UFC can make stylistically. I do think that John, if he put together a strategic game plan and kind of stuck and moved and stayed away and mixed everything together, I could see how he could maybe beat Tom Aspinall. But from what we saw this past weekend, as impressive as it was from John Jones, it was a old Stipe Miocic. The guy didn't look the same. And that's what I was saying. I was like, if Stipe comes into this fight and he looks kind of like he did in the Cormier fights, he's got some movement to him, a little bit of speed, a little bit of footwork, it could cause some issues for John. But in the event that he's lost that, this is going to be a very easy fight for John Jones. That's exactly what it turned out to be. I know Stipe landed some good shots. I really like Stipe Miocic. This to me seemed like a cash grab. Stipe was away for a while. They brought him back. It's not as bad. I know people are saying it was like the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson thing. It's not that bad, right? John Jones is 37, Stipe's 42. It's not that big of a damn gap, but I understand what people are saying. It's like you got this old guy who's basically retired. You're going to throw him in there with John Jones, who, he's been inactive, but he's still 37. And he's in there fighting the best guys in the world. And he's, he just fought Cyril Gane, goes in there, dominates him. I don't know, man. I want to see the fight. I feel like we're all along the same boat here. It's just very, very unfortunate that every time John Jones hears Tom Aspinall, sees Tom Aspinall, this dude wants to jump out of a fucking window. He's like, whoop! He doesn't want to be around the guy. He doesn't even want to hear his name. And could that be this narrative that, why would that be the narrative? Why would that be the narrative? Why would the GOAT that everyone says is the GOAT, why would he be running from the next challenge? He knows it's his kryptonite. He knows it's the worst possible matchup for him. And I do still think that there's a chance John could beat him, but it is definitely the hardest fight of his career. No question. He's saying that, if the UFC can pay me a boatload of money, he's just going to price himself out. Just like he did with the whole Francis Ngannou situation, as it seemed, right? I mean, we don't know, I guess, everything that went on behind the scenes there. That's the way it seems. Whenever there's a crazy... And if you think that John would have beaten Francis Ngannou, get the hell out of here. Francis Ngannou would have knocked his ass out. I don't think the fight happens. Tom Aspinall is a terrible matchup for John. John knows it. That's why he wants to fight Alex Pereira. In the event that he lost to Alex, doesn't look so bad because Alex has this incredible resume to where if he goes out there, he loses to Tom Aspinall, all that John has accomplished essentially gets taken from Tom Aspinall and allows him to use his name to build his legacy moving forward. That's how John's thinking about this. I'm not saying that, what I'm trying to do is just say, look, John is ducking, he's avoiding this fight. There's no question about it that he's avoiding the fight, but it's because of strategic reasons on the end of protecting this GOAT aura and not getting KO'd by the up-and-coming dude in the division. Because John's acting like he's Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz or whatever, and what I mean by that is, yeah, John's a massive star, but he has the title. You have the belt. You're like trying to pick and choose these super fights and pick and choose these matchups. He's talking about fighting Jamal Hill, talking about Tom Aspinall didn't do anything. Tom Aspinall's done a lot of great things at heavyweight. Starch Curtis Blades in the first round to defend the interim belt. He has the same amount of title defenses as John at heavyweight right now. Goes out there, starches the terrifying Sergey Pavlovich, who nobody wanted to fight. Goes out there, KOs his ass. Goes out there, beats Spivak, who's I know he's not like a world beater. He's still an interesting style matchup. Goes out there, beats Tybura, who just dismantled, Denise. I'm not saying that those are like the same caliber of guys, but you get what I'm saying. He's beating some people. He's beating who the UFC puts in front of him. John's avoiding this fight. It's strategic. He knows that this is the hardest fight of his career, and if it happens, it'll be one of the biggest fights in UFC history. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video. Let me know, do you guys think John Jones could beat Aspinall, or do you think that Tom Aspinall easily kind of makes work of an older, aging John Jones at this point? So subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.